Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Sinister Wisdom's celebration of our 133rd issue and our 12th Sapphic Classic, Blue Heat by Alexis De Veaux. I'm so glad you're here this evening. My name is Julie Enzer, and I'm pleased to welcome you to this event on behalf of Sinister Wisdom. Before we begin, as is our custom, we do spend a moment for land acknowledgement. In the United States and around the world, many of us are living on occupied, unceded land. I am in what is now Dover, Florida, traditional homelands and territories of the Seminole. I invite you to insert into the chat your location and acknowledge the land on which you live. As we think about colonialism in our own country, I know many of us also are thinking about the ongoing conflict and war in the Middle East, particularly as we approach this year anniversary. In this moment, may we also pause in solidarity with all who are mourning the loss of life, all who are waiting the return of hostages, detainees, and political prisoners, and for an end to the occupation. May we all raise our voices for peace and dedicate labor to achieve it. And now a brief word about Sinister Wisdom. If you are not familiar with Sinister Wisdom is a quarterly journal of lesbian literary art and literature. Sinister Wisdom started in 1976. We're getting excited about that 50th anniversary in less than 2 years, and has been publishing consistently since. If you are not currently a subscriber, I invite you to sign up for a subscription today by going to sinisterwisdom.org/subscribe. Also, a group of monthly sustainers are vital to Sinister Wisdom. If you can give monthly, please consider signing up as a sustainer at sinisterwisdom.org/sustainers. Sinister Wisdom sends out emails every month when your gift comes in with behind the scenes details and new information about what we have coming for the journal. If you sign up as a sustainer this fall, you will also receive a free copy of the Sinister Wisdom 2025 calendar. We're back to the large size format of the calendar. It features all new lesbian art and dates that are significant to lesbians and queer women throughout the year. So it's a really fantastic calendar. I'm thrilled that of the work that Bell Pitkin did. We'll be celebrating it later this fall. It's in stock. If you're a sustainer or did an advance order, you probably already have your copy of the calendar. They are in the mail. Again, if you sign up as a monthly sustainer now, you will receive a free copy of the calendar. You can also order it at sinisterwisdom.org/calendar. It's gorgeous, and I am excited to share it with you. I also will give you a quick preview of the gorgeous copy of the fall issue of Sinister Wisdom 134. That will be going in the mail to subscribers over the next couple of weeks. Everyone will have it, we hope, in time for the launch in the middle of October. Now, a few housekeeping notes before we begin our program. Do please keep your microphones muted throughout the program. If we hear noise from you, we will mute you. As the program proceeds, if you want to show appreciation for readers, wave your hands at the end of individual pieces or poems, and feel free to use the reaction emojis on Zoom. I also invite you to light up the chat. Sometimes some of the best things happening at our events are happening in the chat. If you need technical assistance this evening, you can chat with my colleague Max Bacher or Jules Friedman, who both can help with technical assistance during the evening. Now, we are recording this event, and we do hope to make it available starting tomorrow or Thursday at sinisterwisdom.org/SW133. I do note that we did not successfully record our last event, and so that event with Cheryl Clark is not available. we are hoping to drop some fun makeup and apology videos into the Sinister Wisdom snapshot and our YouTube feed to make up for that error on our part. So again, tonight's event will be at sinisterwisdom.org/SW133. As usual, we have an hour planned for this event, wrapping up at 8 p.m. on the East Coast, including time for our traditional dance number at the end. So I'm so pleased this evening to welcome Alexis De Veaux, reading from her new work published this summer by Sinister Wisdom, Blue Heat. Mm-hmm. And Alexis De Veaux will be followed by a conversation between the two Alexises, Dr. Alexis De Veaux and Dr. Alexis Pauline Gumbs. They will also respond to questions near the end of the program. So first, let me introduce Dr. Alexis De Veaux. Alexis De Veaux independently published and distributed Blue Heat in 1984, just a few years ago. Now, 40 years later, Blue Heat is a Sapphic Classic from Sinister Wisdom. In Blue Heat, Alexis De Veaux insists on survival and encourages risk-taking. It's a beautiful collection. Alexis De Veaux is a Black, queer, feminist, independent scholar whose work appears in numerous anthologies and publications and has over 50 years of experience in publishing. The author of 8 books to date, including her most recent, Jesus Devil, The Parables from AK Press, which is fantastic. I commend it to you all. Dr. Alexis De Veaux is internationally known for her work in multiple genres, and I am thrilled to have her read this evening for the Sinister Wisdom community. Alexis, please join us and read from Blue Heat.
Thank you, Julie, and my deep thanks to everyone who is here with us this evening. I'll get right into it by sharing a look at the original Blue Heat, which we published in 1985, I think it was, independently published. It is a portfolio of poems and drawings, so I just wanted to bring that historical moment into the contemporary to have us connect to how we are never far from where we began. So I'll start tonight's reading actually by reading the last piece that I wrote for Blue Heat first. And that piece is on page, for those of you who have Blue Heat, the Sapphic edition, it's on page 17. If a poem could, then. This book is for my sister, Rose, and for all my sisters, blood and born, for my brothers, and for you. It is for to be free, sovereign, not second class. This book is for Grammy and for my friends. This book is for power, joy, and change, for the thunder of spirits, sweet and sour. This book is for something radical. This book is for the nights. This book is for the life in writing, the years framed in poems from 1979 to 1985, for how I feel now living on this planet. This book is for independent publishing. It's for the women who came before me and for love and faith found, for my pretty and my mean evil. This book is for this book and the sheer naked pleasure of rebellion. This book is here at last. Praise song for my sister Rose on page 23. September 1, 1945 to January 22, 1983. To learn the meaning of a sister, daughter, to love her, to struggle to accept her, to be a witness, to be helpless, to learn your sacrifices made possible our victories, your polio, your shyness, being oldest, 15 years at the phone company, your friends, your lovers. To remember my rebellion against you as a kid, as a woman, to come to know by watching that you were not a cripple. Rose, these are the things we inherit from your softness, your worn tennis shoes neatly placed, one a child's foot, one a woman's foot, stuffed dolls on a closet shelf, 17 pennies, clothes that do not fit. Rose, who walked like a woman and a child, who left us your courage paying pieces of your life, we, your family, our mothers, sisters, brothers, cousins, children, and kin. We will dance when we think of you. We will sing when we speak of you, and laugh when we see you again, perhaps as a daughter, perhaps as a friend. The poems in this book are shaped by the political, socio-political landscape of the 1980s, primarily the late 1970s, the 1980s. It was at a time when, for those of us who were alive then, when everything was up for grabs, just in terms of what we call freedom. Of course, there was the AIDS epidemic, the onset of the AIDS epidemic, the level of police violence in the country, the poverty that laced most Black communities in the country, the global responses to the apartheid movement in South Africa, the charge for independence across Central America as well, and the desires for freedom here in Black communities in the United States. I'm going to read, the next poem is called Are There No More Prophets? For Gwen. Tonight I will squat in an alleyway of old San Juan and spit out my baby feet first. Is this the prophet walking away with no need of nurturing, not just yet? She is he and they are God. I will tell them so when they come, sure to ask. Are there no more prophets? Let the whites flee Africa and take with them their Rhodesias. The ground beneath my city feet echoes with the whistle of bullets popping in Zimbabwe. And the trees in Central Park let down their zippers, and their shameless rain splatters me. I walk by. They do not cover up. I move on. And the scarifications of time, the roots of eucalyptus leaves, the fingerprints of pyramids are woven in a goat path on the back of my hand. If I never get to Zimbabwe, I will still have fought there. If I never get to Zimbabwe, I will still have lost my mother to a refugee camp. But she will say she has moved from the South Bronx to the East Bronx. She has moved from refugee dwelling to refugee status in the South or East or Southwest East Bronx. Refugees outnumber the causes 100 to 1. And the prophets? Are there no more prophets to see for us? Can we see for ourselves? Africa is the end and the beginning. Heaven is the heartbeat. The further down you go, the louder you can hear it. Ask the dead. Ask for the resurrection of mythology and love, love, love. Hold me. Hold my Africas and prophets. Are there no more to say whether or not it is healthy to cut off your left arm because you are right-handed, to rape because you are lonely? The problem is still what color, which gender. It is not sex or what sex you sleep with. That is not why there are distortions and no more prophets in the dank streets, their shrouds fertile with the lice of elephant shit. As they sit together, their madnesses for beads, stringing one of each color, red for love, pink for success, purple for God. God, Are there no more to follow the gone, gone divinities, their lives a singular signpost towards the eternal? I always say that that I'm really wealthy because I have a great community of friends, and it was in the 80s that I began to really understand what it meant to speak of this idea of friendship. In any language, on page 36. In any language, bred with dignity, for Vivian. She brings fresh brown bread, round and feminine. She says, you gotta learn how to accept help from your friends, sweetie. Learn to lean, say what you need, it's no shame. Granted, you have to work at friendship like you do any community or garden. Got to break through the topsoil to what's underneath. Plow and plant, get it under your fingernails. In any language, it's fundamental and global. How many hands does it take to fertilize a friend? How do I say bread in my native African, or which part of Africa I am from? Which part of the ingredients is my face, tears, your wild, soft beauty? Teach me in Spanish as we pour tea and slice bread and butter it with headlines. And 7 million starve in Ethiopia. In Haiti, there are food riots. In Harlem, there are bread lines. In prison, there is bread and water. Or say it another way, in Guatemala, there are the disappeared, disposable as breadcrumbs. In any language, you keep the faith. So delicate behind your glasses. I am a hungry nation, addicted to bread. My economy supported by friends. This is what I need. Water, flour, salt of sweat, dough baked with dignity. The next poem I'll read is on page 51. I wrote this poem after a trip to Nicaragua to see what the revolution at the time had accomplished. Everyone is Nicaragua. Everyone is a poet there. Everyone is the breasted mountains. Everyone is the flirting cows, the volcano Cerro Negro, the cornfields, a stream to bathe in, café con leche. Everyone is under siege. Everyone is rice and red beans. Everyone is the thick, milky night. Everyone is the bales of cotton, the sweet watermelon, the eyes of women. Everyone is the scars of Somoza. Their language makes it so. Todas las armas al pueblo, all arms to the people, see how it is in Nicaragua, see how it is in Nicaragua. Dust clings tight, new as the skin of literacy, near the border in Santa Maria. This is what the revolution means. We have learned to read and write. We know the ABCs now. We know the CIA. Everyone is the exploded ports. Everyone is the mined harbors. Everyone is the thousands dead, the thousands violated, the FSLN graffiti. Everyone is a poet here. It's in the tongue. Siempre un poquito más. El acto, arma del pueblo. Everyone is the spirit of Sandino. It's in the language. Solidaridad, mujer, la cultura. Everyone is canto, amor y lucha, music, love, and struggle. The next poem I'm going to read is on page 61. It's called Country. Country. I will make a savanna of my dreads. I will make an incense of my pussy. I will make breadfruit of my hands. I will make a fetish for your love. Twilight, page 66. It is never a come suddenly, abrupt as dawn, tearing the darkness of first light, illumination erupting, sleep just below the skin of it. Never as visible as skyline, as the woman on the bridge, nightly, electric, lapis, not like her Tai Chi, her pose of black jackal, serene against city blue, gray fog, lights. Here, take it, my friend. Take this cerulean blue mauve cape of dusk, the last before we embrace, a tongue behind the knee, to suck on the she-sex of evening. Take some, but take it easy. Campitis, page 67. Up here in the woods, a quarter moon tongue kisses my dreams with sweet saliva, reminds me this quiet is ever so natural, like the shades of your voice, spider webs, the elbow of a tree. I miss home. And at night, a lake of stars above the birch and pine fondle me and whisper, be patient, be generous with love. And the absolutely still water and fresh cut grass, punctuated by deer droppings and coyote who never heard of New York City. It's strange and cozy here. There is reason to be myself. I'm thinking, how do I measure the infinitesimal? And yes, it's a damn good camp. This poem is actually at the beginning of the book. It's very short. It's on page 22. It's actually an ode to my mother, who had a habit of, after we'd go to school, she would change the entire interior of the apartment around so that where you slept at the night before, when you came home, your bed was somewhere else and the pillows were somewhere else. In other words, everything always looked different. And I learned to do that. It's called rooms. My mother manipulated space, what you call changed the house around, that is, the contents, ever so often, taught me this skill. Try on these rooms, baby, one has got to fit. And I will end reading on page 71. I will end with a poem for a woman who taught me quite a bit about being alive and taking care of myself. Hanging Tough, page 71, for Lois. When the going gets tough, the tough turn pro. When the going gets tough. When the going gets down to a dime, I fight sleep and fast. I want the impossible. Revolution in America, the end of world tyranny, a perfect lover. Right now be a good time to come knock with your sooty laughter, solid, black as the fever of freedom. I want you. And what is the relationship between creativity and war? And yes, baby, these are distant proximities between us. What goes around comes around. Familiar, heat, magnetic. Touch me in that firm, soft, thighs spread in flight. Chisel at the ache. Say you want me. Too much, too lonely, too bitchy. Bitch. Vocabulary frequently used by black women. Fibroids, welfare, cancer. Shit, motherfucker. My kids. Women born under the number 6 often suffer with their breasts. In childbirth are prone to milk, fever, months to guard against for ill health and overwork. May, October, November. Vital statistics: 70% of black women harbor fibroid tumors. 47% of black women's children are functionally illiterate. Hang tough when the going gets rough. Hang tough. Lap around the park. Race the pigeons, joggers, the nightmares still clinging. Shed the skins of dreams. I pump my legs into bigger weapons, bazookas, bombers, AK-47s. Swift as survival, trying catch me, the lean, mean blue machine. And in the city, it's all about camouflage, living. I love you, you love her, she loves them. Tough titty. I am not tough. I want to be soft, hungry, wet. Ido selala, inam sida, menana, ha ha ha, hum, ha ha ha, hum. When the going gets tough, the tough slice a carrot, chop potato, boil the water, make soup. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
The book is Blue Heat. That was Alexis De Veaux reading from her book, Blue Heat. Alexis, it was incredible after having spent time with that manuscript to hear you voice those poems.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you so much.
I invite everyone, if you have questions for Alexis De Veaux, you're invited to insert them into the chat. Now, Alexis is going to have a conversation with Alexis Pauline Gumbs.
I love that.
I know that many of you are knee deep in Alexis Pauline Gumbs' brilliant mind at the moment, given her recent engagements with Audre Lorde. Her new biography, Alexis Pauline Gumbs' new biography of Audre Lorde, Survival is a Promise. The Eternal Life of Audre Lorde is magnificent. I read it over the summer and was enchanted. And both Alexises have published biographies of Lorde exactly 20 years apart. So Alexis De Veaux's biography is Warrior Poet. It's in a paperback edition, I assume. I'm holding up the hardback edition. Alexis De Veaux wrote, the significance of these two biographies is rooted in the intergenerational trajectory of legacy work as Black feminists and in the fact of our shared first name. So I know they're both going to talk a little bit about biographies and Audre Lorde. But first, a brief introduction. Alexis Pauline Gumbs is the person who initiated this project of republishing Blue Heat, encouraging me to include Blue Heat as a Sapphic Classic. Alexis Pauline Gumbs wrote a beautiful and stunning introduction to it and guiding exercises to interact with the poems. I now invite you, Alexis Pauline Gumbs and Alexis De Veaux, to be in conversation. I'm going to sit back and listen to your brilliance, and thank you both for joining us this evening.
Thank you. This is so great, beloved. It's so good to see you. I know you've been traveling the globe, so I'm excited that you're here tonight.
Oh my goodness, this is what I have been dreaming about. I'm so happy that we are here, that we got to hear these poems in your voice. I just, yes, it was, I'm just so happy that you said yes. You know, when I called you last summer, 2 summers,
I think it was 2 summers ago
two
now.
summers ago,
Yeah.
and I was like, would you be willing to bring back into print Blue Heat? It is truly a classic. And
Thank you.
the strength of your voice, but also your determination to publish this work on your own terms and to distribute it in your communities of accountability directly. And then, you know, it was my great gift to be one of the people who actually got to read, you know, the original folder, and ultimately my dear mentor, your dear friend Cheryl Green, gifted me
Yes.
my own copy. And you know, I wrote about Blue Heat in my dissertation. I wrote about other works of yours also. But it just is a work that needs to be in the world. People need to be able to teach it. People need to be able to read it and reread it and hold it and gift it to other people and pass it along. And so it's just, I'm just so grateful for who you are, for who you've been, for how you love us. And it's a huge act of generosity for, you know, some people, maybe myself included, you know, some people don't necessarily want people to read their earlier work, right? But
Yeah.
it's a real act of generosity, but I think it's also based on, I mean, you all heard the poems, and those of you who have read it, these poems are, could they possibly be even more relevant 40 years later than they were 40 years ago? I don't know. I know they're at least as relevant as they were. And I'm just so grateful that, you know, new generations get to, I mean, I know who's in here. You know, I know that there are Black feminist educators in here who are going to be teaching this book to generations of students. And I'm just so happy about it. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
No,
Thank you.
baby. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so, so appreciative to your parents for bringing you forward and for depositing you on this planet at the time that we are also here, so that we can, you know, bear witness to what you bear witness to. And, you know, I've told you ever since we met way back, you are amazing. And how you see the literary traditions that we are writing in and through and across and before and after and in between mentors me and brings forward for me understandings about what it means to be alive, what it means to be Black, what it means to identify as feminist. I'm hoping that you can share with folks how this became a collaboration. It wasn't, yes, it was me saying yes, but it became a collaboration. And I'm hoping you can talk about how you structured around these poems a new way, a fresher way, if you will, an intergenerational way of thinking about poetry and politics and love and those social movements that are guiding not only the times surrounding Blue Heat, but the times today.
For sure. Yeah. Thanks for the shout out to my parents. They gave me the right name. They gave me the right
That's right.
name.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
So we could find each other.
That's right.
Yes. Well, so I mean, honestly, I think it would have been great to have it just by itself. But I was very, very, very honored to write a critical introduction. This is a text that I've been writing about and thinking about for many years now, like at least 20 years now. And so it was an opportunity for me to both testify to
Mm,
what I understand to be the importance of the work in its own, in the context of its creation and in the historical context since. And so I wanted to offer that, also just my great benefit of having been able to, I interviewed you about this book for my
mhm, mhm,
dissertation. And so getting to bring those things forward so that anybody who picks this book up can also be blessed by understanding where you were coming from, what you had gone through, how
mhm,
this work intersects with the rest of your work, right? I loved connecting it to the work that you've done since, but I also loved grounding it
mhm,
in the work that you were doing at Essence at the time that
mhm,
you were writing this.
mhm,
So
mhm,
I wanted people
mhm,
to be able to step into the conversation, step into
mhm,
the world that these poems belong to, and to feel like they could be there. It's a
mhm,
welcoming. I think of it as a
mhm,
welcoming. And
mhm,
and then it was really fun to be able to create these prompts that are at the back of the book. So for each
mhm,
poem, there's a writing activity. If you choose to do it, you could do it. And that's because, that's one of the ways I love to, as you said, bring our lineage and understand that poetry, especially these poems, and honoring the way that you published them, and that you really, they were these sheets that
mhm,
people needed to hold and engage, hold close and hold carefully. That I didn't want to have folks think that this is just an artifact to consume, like these are just
mhm,
poems to like these poems are not like entertainment. These poems are not just like, what's an example of a poem from 1984? These are
mhm,
poems to
mhm,
live with and interact with.
mhm,
And the prompts that I have for interacting with them, of course, it's only one of infinite ways that someone could interact with these poems. But I
mhm,
wanted folks to read these poems and think about their own families, think about their own
mhm,
ceremonies, think about
mhm,
their own revolutionary responsibility, think about the
mhm,
contradictions that they are facing every day, and to understand, I mean, because these poems for me have been a guide. And
mhm,
they've been a guide not only into understanding more about you and understanding more about Black feminist literary history, but understanding more about myself, which
mhm,
feels to me like an important part of the purpose and an important part of the collaboration that any reader
mhm,
can can engage with.
mhm.
So I don't know if folks are going to literally, go in the back and do the writing exercises the way, I mean, I think they're great prompts personally, but they also can be a
Yes,
gesture, because maybe you'll
yes.
think of an even better prompt for yourself,
Mhm,
reading
mhm,
these, and
mhm,
you'll do that. It's just a reminder that Blue Heat is a relationship.
mhm,
Blue Heat is a dynamic intimacy. And
mhm,
so one of the reasons why it was so important for me for this book to be back in print is because I know that the energy that you created the portfolio out of in 1984 is not over.
mhm, mhm,
And
mhm,
the way that it continues is we continue to participate in it. So that's
mhm,
why I was really excited for it to be a collaborative form, and really honored that you were open to that.
Oh, absolutely. And you really approached something that we would call a collection of poetry in such an innovative way, because most of the poetry books that are, in fact, all of the poetry books that I have on my shelves are simply that, poetry books. They are not necessarily immersive in the way that you've made the structure around Blue Heat, the Sapphic text. So, I mean, I wasn't really sure what that was going to look like when you first suggested it. I was like, well, what is that? What? But, I trust you, and I trust your sense of our literatures. And I trust your sense, your deep engagement with our histories. And so that allowed me to say, let's go with what Alexis thinks, because it's going to be good. it may be foreign to you, but it's gonna be good. So yeah, I'm really happy that, we have collaborated on this particular work. We have collaborated on our names and the uses of our names, and we have, as Julie has shared with the bulk of those who are with us tonight, we have collaborated in the general sense on the life of Audre Lorde, just in terms of being the first two biographers of her life and coming at her life literally 20 years apart. And what the 20 years has given to us both in terms of what it means to sit in another Black woman's skin and to write inside that skin and to suggest the interiority inside the skin, and for your biography in particular, which is, I think, something that people are, who haven't come to it yet are really going to find exciting, is the way in which you situate Audre Lorde in the cosmos of being, not just in terms of life on Earth, but all the life that impacts Earth, and therefore how it impacts her. So for me, it's a stunning moment to share this time with you and to share this trajectory of the 20 years between the publication of one and the publication of the next, and hopefully we'll be able to inspire other generations to come to Audre Lorde, not just because we have, but because we've left something for them to come to.
That's right. That's right. I mean, I mean, one of the beautiful things is that, there are people in this Zoom. Shangodari's in the Zoom. Sharon and Omi are in the Zoom. I don't know, is Priscilla in the Zoom?
Wonderful.
Who were like in our kitchen when Sharon was interviewing you for Who Your People Is podcast and asked you about how you came to write Warrior Poet. And that was like a moment, it felt like a moment of like time splitting for me, because you told the story of how your journey coming to write Warrior Poet and your journey through it, and then came the the convicting moment where you said, and I don't understand why in 20 years nobody has written another biography of Audre Lorde. And everyone in the kitchen just turned to me and I was like,
looked at you.
Oh. So we have witnesses to that moment. Sakari Ekene was in there like, oh. And it was phenomenal that like the next day, the person who's now my literary agent called and was like, strongly feel that it's time for a new biography of Audre Lorde, and people are saying it should be you. And I was like, what? What kind of conjure is that?
Yes.
Can you imagine? So, so I don't know. I mean, there may be another Alexis out there. Watch out. you may get your assignment in a flash of lightning.
Yes.
But I feel like it's part of the same ceremony is what I'm saying. And for me, Warrior Poet, my sister Kyla got it for me for Christmas in 2004 when it came out. And I was like, because she knew I loved Audre Lorde, and she knew I had been, reading Audre Lorde's poetry since we were 14. And she gave me this gift, and it was so foundational. It was such a gift to have this presence who is just like, the creator of this poetry that I needed and that I loved and that helped raise me. But to understand like this is a person, you know, and
Mhm.
what did this person go through? And
Yes.
what were the aspects of her life that impacted the poetry but could not be distilled into poetry itself? You
Mm.
know, the
Mhm.
complexity of that.
Mhm.
And so it's just such a huge gift to
Mhm. Mhm.
participate in, you know, in this moment. What
Mhm.
do we need to hear from Audre Lorde, and
Mhm.
how can it impact how we understand what aliveness is, what
Mhm.
it is to be a planet together, how
Mhm.
we ourselves are also cosmic, right? I mean, because this is the covenant.
Mhm.
Audre Lorde saw herself in all of us.
Mhm.
I see Audre Lorde everywhere.
Mhm. Mhm.
And this is also part of the ceremony that says, you know, our great poets like Alexis De Veaux or like Audre Lorde are not, you know, maybe interesting, strange, exceptional in some ways,
Mhm. Mhm.
but are in no way separate from
Mhm.
any of us, right? Like you, like what you do in Blue Heat, the
Mhm.
generosity of the mirror that you offer,
Mhm.
of what it is to be alive for you in your own words, but everybody who's listening today and everybody who's read these poems, we see ourselves. You know, we have, you know, Yolanda's in here like your mom and my mama must be cousins because we were rearranging the house too. You know, that there's that
Yeah.
that way that you allow us to become new to ourselves.
Mhm.
And
Mhm. Mhm.
I feel like we get to participate in the ceremony of opening that practice and
Mhm.
revealing that life itself is poetry. You know, I
Mhm.
often say the
Mhm.
universe is a poem.
Absolutely.
The universe
Right.
has to be
Right.
how you get two Alexises
Mm.
writing biographies of
Hello.
Audre Lorde if the universe is not a poem.
Writing about the same subject, literally a generation apart. Literally a generation apart. And
We
there's
rest our
something, I have to use your language. There's something deeply cosmic about that, and also that we belong to each other the way you and I do, and also that we have these opportunities to be side by side, talking with each other and with everyone else about the things that not only matter to us, but matter, the things that matter,
yeah.
that make us who we are as matter.
Yes.
And I think getting that sense of Audre Lorde from you is deeply powerful, deeply imaginative, and deeply alive. The ways in which you approach what we call life and death and life and death and life
Mhm.
is so meaningful for me. And I'm sure it's meaningful for others who are in this room with us now who are also dealing with life and death and life, or what we call afterlife. I know we can go on talking about this all the time, so
I
um,
know, and we will.
and we will every
And
chance
we
we
will.
get, every chance we
Exactly.
get. Should we? Are there
Yeah,
questions that we should take?
yeah. I don't see any questions in the chat yet. Y'all put your
Okay.
questions. Oh, wait. No, yes, I do. Okay, so we have
Okay.
a question from Yolanda. Um, how excited are you, Alexis De Veaux, about the new adventures that Blue Heat will send us on? Or, I like the choose your own adventure strategy, Yolanda. Share a bit about the drawing and your writing for Blue Heat.
Mm-hmm.
How did the
Mm-hmm.
imagery you created dance with your writing before we were
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
invited to explore the work? I love those questions.
Thank you, Yolanda. That's such a great question. I don't know how excited I am because I don't really have language for this kind of feeling that I'm in with a work that's nearly 40 years old and is now back with me, or is growing up with me again. That's something that one doesn't expect to have a work that grows up with you and then returns to you in such a magnanimous way. So I'm not really sure how to communicate that kind of excitement and the levels of excitement that are inherent to that. So I'll just live it out. You know what I mean? I'll just live it out and see where it goes. In terms of the images that are in the work, I have come to understand myself as a visualist. Someone said to me, "Oh, you illustrate your work," and I was like, "No, I don't do illustration. I'm not in that school. I didn't learn to make images. I make images. I didn't go to school for that, so I'm not going to take up space in that discourse. I consider myself a visualist, someone for whom images is critical to text. And I don't plan the images, they just simply come. So I'm going to try to find the electrified magnets. Okay, so here are the electrified magnets. And this section of the work has a lot to do with women in love and what it means to express queer desires across one's politics or critical to one's politics. So for me, the images are another text in the text, and they both communicate with each other. Like that image, I think, communicates with the image on the cover of the book. So they communicate with each other, and then they're having their own conversations with themselves. I think that's the best way for me to describe it.
It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. The visual
Thank you,
images
Alexis. Thank you.
incredible. I'll just say, I know we have like 7 minutes left, that
Okay.
we have folks who are excited about the possibility of other events, maybe in Powhatan lands, maybe where you're at, in Virginia. Olivia has this question. Beautiful question. I'm going to distill down to the question, but y'all should read the whole thing in the chat. Olivia's thinking about how you, Alexis, introduce it as a book that's for the life in writing, and thinking about the idea of the life in writing, life writing, like the writing we've done about Audre Lorde, living room, the line of your poem about Nicaragua, everyone is a poet there, and also the altar is a precipice. And so Olivia's request is, can we both talk about what having a poetic practice has enabled for each of our practices of living alongside the work that we do and the times that we are navigating. And also for you, Alexis De Veaux, what having your poetic practice during the time that you wrote Blue Heat, offered you and shaped in your living at that time.
That's an amazing question. It's like a dissertation, though.
Well, I mean, I think this actually is what Olivia's dissertation is about.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you so much for laying that out like that. I guess the short answer and the quick answer is that although I've written in other genres, I've always thought of myself as a poet writing fiction, a poet writing poetry, a poet writing biography, a poet writing essays, etc. So, and I was raised by poets like June Jordan and Valerie Maynard, who was a visual artist, but she was also a poet. So I think about poetry and my poetic practices as not being boundaried by, again, by the literary, but being situated within it as the way to branch out. And at the time that I was producing the work that became Blue Heat, I was a poet working for Essence magazine. So I was a poet doing articles and journalism. I say that all to say that everything I do in my life, I do as a poet. When I make soup, I'm making it as a poet. When I'm walking with our canine in the morning on our morning walks, walking through the park and meditating, I'm walking with him as a poet. My practice as a poet is the breath that I take. It's my life. And so I can't simply define it by what I do with pen and paper on a page. My poetic practice is living and breathing and crying and sleeping and eating and loving and making love or not making love and being on the phone. It's everything that I am. It's nope, not again. You know, this is my poetic practice. So I hope that doesn't sound too pedestrian, but also living like this is deeply spiritual for me. In this way, I'm not, sort of siphoning off one part of myself to just speak about that part, the part of me as a poet. I'm talking about a whole me. I'm bringing my whole me to every opportunity to be spiritual, because that's what being a poet is for me. What about
Yeah.
you, Alexis?
That resonates so much with me too. I know that my practice as a poet, it's really a practice of presence.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
It really is. I see it as my reminder to myself and the universe that I'm here. I'm
mm-hmm,
present. And I'm, like we were talking about before, I'm looking for the poem that is the universe. I'm looking for the poem that is this day. And
mm-hmm,
I hope that my work can invite other people into that, whether they identify as poets or not, that they could
mm-hmm,
see the poem of
mm-hmm,
their relationships. They can see the poem of the particular day
mm-hmm,
that they're in, or the month that they're
mm-hmm,
in, the season
mm-hmm,
that they're in.
mm-hmm.
I just wanted to really quickly, there's this other question. Thank y'all for bringing it down. Kendra's asking about your use of the colon. Is there anything you would like to say about how you use the colon?
Is there something specific about that?
I know, I was like, how do you use the colon? Kendra, do you have something more you want to say about that, or an example in the book that you're pointing to?
Mm-hmm. Let me see if I can find
We
an
have like
example.
a ellipses. If a poem could, then Kendra's saying just noticing that it's used often. Yeah, inside the poems, like in the Altar of Liberation, a map, the bones. So it is.
Okay, let me take a look at that quickly. Mm-hmm.
Some of the titles also. Is there a certain type of breath
Oh
in the
yes,
colon for you?
yes, yes. It's like when you have a stopwatch and you click it down to see like how fast the runner has gone, and you realize that the runner ran the whole race under 2 minutes. It's a stop. It's a stop sign. It's a stopwatch moment where you just stop. A map, you stop after
Mm-hmm.
it says in altars.
Mm-hmm. Right, a map.
On page 21.
Mm.
Love is one altar, period. An altar is a precipice, period. A category of experiences, period. Invisibility, period. Metamorphosis, period. Journey, colon. Just stop. It's the stopwatch.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Journey, period. Pain, period. Molting. A map, colon. So it's, for me, it's like a stopwatch. I actually tend to use things like commas and periods, semicolons, dashes encounter ways to how we were taught to do those things, I tend to try to bring out that Black breath with those things, as opposed to write grammatically. I don't know if I can really make that
Mhm.
clear, because it's an intuitive process that I'm engaged with. When it's happening, it's not necessarily one that I've intellectualized. It's like I don't intellectually think about each breath I'm taking. I'm just, my body's doing the work of the inhale and exhale. And of course, I'm going to know when that is not happening.
Right.
So it's more of an intuitive understanding of what those things are: periods, commas, colons, dashes, as opposed to how I learned to use those things in elementary school, in high school, college, etc.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I love that. The stopwatch and stopping time and having there be a communication about the time in the poem on your own
Absolutely.
terms. Yeah. Love
Absolutely.
it. I love it.
Love
See,
it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
that's
Thank
why.
Thank
you
you.
both.
Those are
Yes.
wonderful questions.
Let me just say, generations to come, people gonna be breaking down these poems like, why is the period there? Why is the colon there? Tell me about this
I
comma.
see.
And
I
I'm
better
here
get
for it.
ready. I better get ready.
Thank you both so much. Alexis De Veaux,
Mm.
Alexis, Pauline, Gumbs, and thank you to everyone who joined us this evening. It's wonderful to be with you all and think with you all. If you do not already have your copy of Sinister Wisdom 133 Blue Heat, please order one online at sinisterwisdom.org/Blue Heat. The video will be available on the Sinister Wisdom website tomorrow or Thursday. We'll put the link in the chat. We have more great Zooms coming. Join us for an event with June Thomas about her new book, A Place of One's Own. Join the Sinister Wisdom Book Club with Yeva Johnson to discuss the Gilda stories with author Jewel Gomez. Mark your calendars for the incredible launch of Sinister Wisdom 134 Lives of Common Lesbians. Keep up with all of our events at sinisterwisdom.org/events. And now we have our dance number. Max, please cue the music.
Come on and say the L word. It's the only chance you got to reclaim our name and not live in shame to try to improve our lot. Come on and say the L word. It's the only chance you got to stop the lying and denying. And come on and give it a
This is a significant time in our community and our visibility as a movement. We must be strong and proud and out.
The next time you say the L word, think of the woman next to you, or your teammate on the soccer field, or the wise one that's helping you through. And think of your high school basketball coach, or your last music festival crush, or your ultimate erotic fantasy. It's okay to blush. Find a mirror, look yourself in the eye, and with warm regard, say the L word. Say lesbian. Everybody say lesbian. Come on, say lesbian. Everybody say lesbian. Have your mama say lesbian. Have your daddy say lesbian. Come on, say lesbian. Everybody say lesbian. Word to your lover.
Woo! All right.